Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Luminary Podcast. I am your host, Annie Perry, multidimensional being of light, galactic psychic channel. I want to take a moment to welcome all of the new listeners. Thank you so much for receiving this podcast. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you to everyone who has sent me emails or DMs through Instagram, just sharing your love for the podcast and what it has meant to you, the awakening that you are experiencing, and how the podcast has been able to support you through your ascension, which is the point, which is the purpose. And maybe right now is a good time to share how this podcast was started. I used to live in Connecticut, in New England, and it was one of the most beautiful years of my entire life. And it was probably not so beautiful for a lot of people because it was 2020. So I lived there from 2020 to 2021. And I would drive around all day listening to podcasts, spiritual podcasts. I was just absorbing all of this information. I was raised religiously. There was no spirituality. There was no chakras. There was no auras or energy. And there were definitely no aliens. But I would drive around beautiful New England and I would just listen to podcast episodes all day. And I started to have this running dialogue in my mind of like what I wanted to say. And I remember one day I was sitting at a coffee shop in New England and I just thought to myself, I have all of these thoughts. I want somewhere to put them. I would love to have my own podcast, or I would love to go on a podcast, right? And that tends to be the case when you are learning a lot, you're unblocking and opening your throat chakra. I know a lot of you guys have shared with me that you have a desire to start your own podcast. And I still have the picture saved from that moment when I shared on my Instagram stories that, yes, someday I'm going to have a podcast. And I wanted a podcast. I also did not want a podcast. I don't love the way that my voice sounds. I don't love talking into a microphone. I had no idea what it would even take. It seemed like it was this impossible thing to figure out. Like it was just going to be so hard, and what would I sound like, and who would even listen to me? And so there was like a part of me, the soul, right, that was like, yeah, we want to like tell everyone everything, all of these downloads, all this stuff that we're uncovering and discovering about ourselves. We want to share all of it. And then there is the ego, human part of me that was like, oh, hell no. Like, I'm not getting out there and putting my voice out there for people to hear and criticize or make fun of or think is stupid. And I remember all of those fears, but they feel so far away. Especially as I was sitting down, I was like, what episode is this? Oh yeah, 131. I was like, damn, that's a lot of episodes. That is a lot of hours that you can sit around listening to my voice. But there was this driving force behind the podcast, which is the Arcturians. And there was this driving force behind it, and all of the equipment and all of the circumstances, everything that I needed lined up perfectly. And then it was just me for like a month straight with this podcast equipment, and I knew what to do and I knew how to put it all together. And I was just sitting there for like a month straight, just shaking in my boots and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And finally I plucked up the courage to record my first episode. And I remember like editing the hell out of it. I probably sound like a robot way back then. But I remember like editing the hell out of it, and it just took so long. And I was like, oh God, like, is this really what it's going to be like? I'm just going to be editing this thing and like trying to take out all of the breathing. Like, hello, I'm a human. I breathe. I have to breathe in order to talk. But I remember all of the self-consciousness and all of the things that really held me up from putting it out there. And then I finally put it out there. And for a long time, it was just my little community listening. It was just a few people. It was just, handfuls, dozens of people. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't big. It was just, people who would find it and listen to it. And for a long time, the podcast was for me. For a long time. I want to say for like the first 2 years. We're almost coming up on 3 years in just a couple months here. For like the first 2 years, it was just for me. It was me unblocking my throat chakra, learning how to speak my truth, learning how to articulate myself, learning how to channel my higher levels, my higher self, and just enter into that pure stream of consciousness. And I would research all of these things for you guys, and I would write all of these crazy notes, and, I would put it all together as best that I could. And really, in the last year, this podcast is not about me anymore. It's not about me. My throat chakra is fine. My throat chakra is great. I can get up in front of a Zoom class with no notes, and I could easily talk their ear off for 2 hours about any spiritual topic, really anything in the whole world. I have opinions on everything. But over time, this podcast, it's not about me anymore. It's about you. It's about you. It's about you. It's about you. I'm sure from the Arcturian's perspective, it was always about you, but I think from my own ego mind's perspective, for a long time, it was about what the podcast did for me, how it helped me. And I'm so glad that now I'm in a place where, baby, it's all for you. It is all for you. So thank you so much to all of the new listeners, all of the listeners from episode 1 who have been with me on this almost 3-year journey. I'm so excited for where we're going. I'm not stopping anytime soon. Every now and again, I need a little bit of a break, but we've really been on a roll in the past month with just the transmissions and all of the books coming through. These books feel so aligned to be reading to you and to sharing with you, and I have another book. And don't worry, we're going to get back to the Arcturians very soon. But I am just so incredibly grateful to all of you. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for all of your kind messages. I love and adore, and I treasure each one of them in a hopefully not a creepy way, but I do screenshot all of them and I keep them. And every once in a while when I need a little pick-me-up, I go and I read them. So thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. If you are listening to this episode for the first time and you've never been here before, this is part 3 of a series. So the first of the series is called What is Light Body? And that is the beginning of this book that is called What is Light Body? And it is channeled by Archangel Ariel, channeled through Tashira Tachi Ren. And it's the most incredible book. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I do hope that if you feel moved and inspired, you will go and buy this book and support the work that they're doing, the angelic work that they're doing here on this planet. The truth is, I have no idea if the embodiment that they channeled this through is still here on the planet. I have no idea. I have a feeling that if I were to tap in, they would tell me that they're actually not in this dimension anymore, but someone out there is still printing this book and it's still available. So again, it's called What is Light Body, and it is a channeled transmission from Archangel Ariel. The first of the 3 series is called What is Light Body, and the second one is called The 12 Stages of Light Body Awakening. And now we are on to the Q&A. So after Tashira channeled all of the 12 stages of light body, they went on to have conversation with Ariel about what are some of the symptoms, what are some of the things happening during ascension and during a light body awakening that you can assist us with. What should we do? And as I was reading the Q&A, there was just some really fucking good practical advice in here. And I think it's really, really going to help you guys. It doesn't matter where you're at in ascension. If you're receiving the information, you're right on time. It's the perfect time. It's all free. It's all for you. Some of it is going to matter today. Some of it you'll reflect on the past, and some of it is not going to matter to you until the future. And you're going to look back and remember what you learned here, and then you'll have the answer that you didn't know you were looking for. So without further ado, let's get into some of these questions and answers about light body and ascension. So the first question posed to Ariel: what are some of the other mutational symptoms? So mutational symptoms means mutating from a carbon body into a crystalline light body. Ariel's answer is, there's often a point where food no longer tastes like food to you. You can feel hungry all the time, and when you eat, your body doesn't register that it's gotten any nourishment. This is because enough of your light body has become activated that you also need light as a nutrient. There's an easy trick for this. It sounds crazy, but it works like a charm. Take both hands, palms out towards the sun, and make a triangle with thumbs touching to form the base and your forefingers touching to form the sides and the apex. This acts as an antenna and prism for the light behind the light. Try this for about 15 minutes. You will feel your body drink in the light, and then you will feel full. Also, please eat whatever your body wants to eat. Throw out the rule books. You're here to follow spirit, not spiritual rules. If you're a vegetarian and your body wants a 2-pound steak, please eat it. If you hate sprouts but your body wants them, do it. You may feel very directed to drink alcohol, particularly beer, because it has certain components that your body needs to assist it to mutate. Throw out all of the shoulds and ought tos around what's okay to eat, because you may find yourself eating some really strange things, like spinach with cinnamon. You'll find that your sleeping patterns become terribly erratic. You may jump from 2 hours sleep to 12 and back again. You may also wake up tired. Remember that you're a vast multidimensional being and are working hard in the sleep state. As you open more and more to being aware of yourself in other realms, your physical body gets tired, as though it's doing the work. Say to yourself, please tighten up the veil, or I need a night off. Remember that you're in control of how fast your light body process moves. The more light you breathe in, the faster you move this process. Doing the unified chakra technique is a very simple, basic technique that allows you to build your light body because it allows your chakra system to function as it will in light body, and it gently assists your energy bodies to move into a merged state. We suggest that you do this several times a day until you get used to it. Then you can say, unify, and you unify in an instant. And that unified chakra technique is inside of this book. You will get so that you are naturally in this state. Then, when you step out of it, you will find that it feels weird to you. If you find that the outside world is too crazy, simply say unify. If you find that you're picking up too much energy from outside, it's because your chakras and energy bodies are not unified. The other thing that you can do is call forth the energy of grace into your life. The divine energy of grace is the most powerful tool you have on this planet. Grace has enveloped planet Earth, and the energy is available anytime you need it. Grace Elohim is a very personable being and will talk to you anytime you like. Grace is the Elohim of the silver ray, and the energy is visible as sparkly, iridescent snow. It looks like fairy dust. So if you see that around you, you know that grace is with you. Grace is the divine force which allows you to make a complete break with the past in each now moment. We urge you sincerely, please do not process your stuff or try to fix yourself. The universe recreates itself around your pictures of reality, absolutely and impersonally. If you hold a picture of reality that there's something wrong with you or that you need to be fixed, the universe will recreate around you this ad nauseum. You'll process stuff from this lifetime, every other lifetime that you've ever had, and then you'll start on other planets, and then you'll process the planet itself. Please stop. The force of grace is on this planet so that this is unnecessary. Please use it. It is your greatest asset. Use the force of grace in every aspect of your life. You can grace your car. If the car is screwing up, call out, "Grace, engine please." We call grace the divine lubricant. Merlin calls her cosmic Crisco. There's a reason for this. Remember those tetrahedrons in your field that get stuck in karmic patterns? If you're locked down with someone and you call on the energy of grace, this iridescent snow falls down on those tetrahedrons and immediately unlocks them. You can use grace on everything, and grace is delighted to help you in any way possible. After all, that is her divine expression. If you catch yourself processing, please stop and call grace. One of the patterns we've seen over and over on this planet is, if only I could fix X in my life, then I could ascend or go to light. Well, I've got news for you. As long as you're trying to fix yourself, you're not going anywhere. You are now completely who you are. A vast, multidimensional master in the various stages of awake and awakening. There is nothing to fix. It is simply a matter of opening, of awakening, of remembering, and of expressing. So that's the Ariel lecture. We've been known to beg people to stop doing this. We see so many of you lightworkers struggling and getting bogged down in everything imaginable. It's totally unnecessary and you don't have time. This planet's moving way too fast for you to process your karma and limitations. Karma is just the illusion of a karma game, and you're leaving that behind. There's a difference between gracing something and living in denial. This is not a call to deny different parts of your reality. When you have accessed different parts of the physical body's consciousness or the human genetic consciousness, you're going to have a lot of things like shame, guilt, fear, and despair pour out of the body. We need to clear the human genetic consciousness. Processing this will take you forever because you could process each lifetime separately. Each human being experience held in the collective human consciousness separately, and you would be constantly dwelling in the past. Grace is always now. If you're constantly participating with your spirit in the now, and spirit leads you into the human genetic consciousness, you'll express from the physical body's realities. This is still under the force of grace. It allows you to just let it go. Express it. Move on. Processing keeps you constantly in the past, analyzing and extrapolating into the future. And you are never in the now. So call in grace. We're talking to you as though the light body process is linear. It is not linear. From our perspective, it is a totally non-linear process. You each have a unique tonal signature, the tone that you are. Light body is like a chord. So if you're sitting at, say, the 7th level, you may have a resonance with, say, your 3rd level. So you can be having the flu-like symptoms. You can also have resonance with your 9th level self, so you begin to hear tonals and see geometries. So although the light body process has an overall pattern, it is also an experiment that each of you is playing with. You will each do this in your own unique fashion as you express your divinity. So we find it pretty exciting and say, oh, that's a nice twist. What an interesting thing to put in. We strongly feel that transitioning a planet to light is high velocity fun. That's why we do it. We're hoping that soon you will feel that way too. You've all done this thousands of times before, and it's what you do for a good time. Figuring out how you will do it this time is part of the fun. The melody of light body as it plays through you is uniquely yours. That's what makes it so exciting. Every time you take a body type to light, the experience is completely new. For every planet that goes to light, exactly what happens depends on the density, the species, and the overall collective consciousness of the planet. The planet doesn't always go to light, even though its inhabitants may. What makes planet Earth particularly special is that the planet herself is going to light. That's why there's so much focus on your planet, to assist the planet in this process. That was the promise made to the planetary consciousness when she agreed to be the stage for this karma game. Right now, there's a major pattern being cleared from the planet, what we call enemy patterning. In September 1989, the planet released her enemy pattern toward humanity. This means that your planet no longer feels that she must be vindictive to her human population. This heads off many of the foreseen catastrophes on this planet. Even when there are natural disasters, earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, the loss of life will usually be minimal. The destruction of property can be massive, however. A signal to disconnect from all that stuff. There's another thing you can work with. There are points in the light body process where your brain function shifts, and you may get headaches. You can ease these by assisting the opening of the pineal and pituitary glands. This is a natural thing that has to happen. In a meditative state, close your eyes and focus your attention right between your eyebrows. It may give you a slight headache, and it may take several times, but at some point, you will see a bright flash of light as the pineal kicks over to its new function. For the pituitary, focus your eyes and attention backwards into your brain until you see a flash of light. That tells you that your pituitary has kicked over. This will usually ease off the headaches and assist the growth of the pineal and the pituitary glands. What determines the level of your light body activation is a tonal color sequence. The entire light body process can be expressed in tonal, color, and geometric patterns. You may sense these in meditation as your spirit works with your energy bodies. When you listen to toning, some of it will feel good. That's for you. Some of it may not feel good. That's for other people. All right, that's the end of her first answer to the questions. I want to go back and add my 2 cents. First of all, right at the beginning, she talks about food and feeling hungry all the time. And when you eat, your body's not registering that there's any nourishment has happened. This is something that I've dealt with in many different forms. Also because I'm activating my Kundalini at the same time. The food cravings just get weird. They get very, very bizarre. There's a lot of change that happens through the food that you eat. And I think that Ariel is completely correct in saying that if you are really craving something, you should just eat it. It doesn't matter if you're vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, if you're like a meat-only person and you never eat vegetables. If you are craving it, you absolutely should eat it. I have seen so many people try to stick to a really specific diet, and because their energy is not getting what it needs, their bodies start to tweak out. You start to have back problems, hip problems, weird inflammation in different areas. So it's really important to start intuitively eating. Now, earlier this year, I felt called to decrease my density through food, and I went back to eating a plant-based, gluten-free diet. And it has been amazing. I've had a whole experience with it. Learning how to shop that way, learning how to cook that way. I mean, you guys who follow me on Instagram, you've seen all of these meals that I've been preparing, and it has really allowed me to release density. But that is what is right for me right now. Tomorrow, that could completely change. And the day after, that could completely change. I used to have a lot of sugar cravings, and right now I don't have those hardly at all. I used to crave mangoes every day. For like the first 2 years of my spiritual awakening, I had to eat a mango every single day. It's just what my body needed during that stage of my light body activation. So I really, really encourage you to listen to your intuition, follow what your soul is craving, and allow yourself to explore and to experiment and to not get locked into one little bubble of thinking. Don't get locked into the mental game of this is right and this is wrong. All that does is just give you a headache. It doesn't actually help your energy or your body at all. I also want to mention that I have tried the trick that Ariel describes in here about putting your hands into a triangle facing towards the sun and allowing your body to literally drink in the light. And it works. It really works. And you'll find that your density, that you release density from your body, you feel more full in your stomach, and you feel this sense of like peace and bliss come over you because you're literally drinking in light codes, the light codes that are sent to the planet every single day, 24 hours a day now. And then the sleeping patterns, oh my lordy, I was just laughing so much because I was like, did I actually write this book? The sleeping patterns, there is no answer. I have been dealing with the sleeping patterns, the erratic sleeping patterns for 4.5 years. There is no answer. Just last week, I was awake until 3-4 o'clock in the morning, could not sleep. I was just laughing about it. There was no supplement or trick or meditation that I could do that was going to get me to go to sleep. It was not going to happen. And then a few days later, I'll sleep for like 12 hours straight. It is just the name of the game. You are literally creating a different body. We are not going to need to sleep as much as we did inside of a carbon body once we have fully transitioned to a crystalline light body. So you can connect with your higher levels and discuss that with them. Their suggestion to work with Grace Elohim was completely new to me when I read this book. I had never met Grace Elohim, and since then I have introduced myself to them. Wonderful, wonderful, incredible, divine feminine energy. And I think it's so important to take away from this what Ariel is saying about stop processing. When I first came into the spiritual world, I was taught to go back into my childhood and look at everything. And in a way, it was helpful because I started to understand myself and my patterns a lot more, but I got stuck in a loop. And I kept looping and I kept looping. And it was like 3 years later that I was like, what the heck is going on? All I do is reprocess the same childhood traumas over and over and over and over again. And I don't feel like it's helping me. And thankfully at that time that I was having that revelation, my mentor came into my life, who is an embodiment of Ariel. And she said, point blank, like the first meeting I ever had with her was stop processing. You don't need to relive any of that. All of that is going to be taken care of by your higher levels. All of that, it's not even real. It's not even real. Like they're going to wrap up this entire third dimensional experience and everything you did in the third dimension, all of that karma is literally getting wrapped up and absorbed by a higher frequency. It's like washing your dishes. It's like, why are you fretting over the dish getting dirty? You're literally going to go over to the sink and just wash it all away. And I know a lot of people are not ready to hear that. A lot of people are not at the point where they feel like they can stop processing or stop looking at some of the traumatic things that have happened to them. I totally understand that, but you are going to hit a wall one day and you're going to know that it's time to stop processing, to stop ruminating, to stop going back over and over and over. You're going to hit that wall and you're going to know that it's time to let all of that go and that you are allowed to just be happy, whole, healed the moment that you decide that you are. It is a higher perspective. It is a higher level of awareness. And you'll know when you're ready for it. And I can honestly say that since I stopped going back and digging through every little trauma, my life has accelerated tenfold. And since I have started focusing, just like I talked about at the end of the last episode, started focusing on feeling good all of the time and allowing myself to feel good all of the time, my life is like a dream. I get up and I'm like, I can't even believe this is real because everything just feels so good. And it's not that everything in my life is perfect or angelic or majestic. It's that I changed, how I feel changed. And I let a lot of that over-processing and picking apart the childhood, let all of that go. You don't need to dig around in that. And it really just sends you back to the past so that you're not being fully present. So I absolutely recommend getting acquainted with Grace Elohim, practicing anytime you find yourself processing or ruminating or stuck on shame or guilt or fear or old things, old vibrations, the old world. Call on Grace Elohim and say, I need some of that sparkling fairy dust right now on my energy, on my energetic body. Lastly, I want to address what Ariel says about enemy patterning. I found that very, very fascinating. And this is what I love about angelic perspective. Angelic perspective is 7th density consciousness perspective. It's right before being completely one with source. And their perspective is the big picture. I have always resonated with the big picture, even when I did not fully understand it and even when I did not fully see it. But the big picture is outside of duality. It's outside of all the little karma, all the little karma crappy things, all of the rights and the wrongs and who said what and who did this and who did that. It's outside of all of that. It sees the bigger picture. And so they're saying that your planet released enemy patterning. She's not going to punish anyone who lives on this planet. When there is a natural disaster, it is completely incorrect to say that anyone is being punished. They're literally said in September 1989, she released all of that. There's not going to be enemy patterning from Gaia. We as light leaders and light workers need to let enemy patterning go. Let it go. I've talked before about my disdain for conspiracy theories that are based on a fear vibration and perpetuate a fear vibration, that are designed to pin you against someone else, that are designed to create duality, that are designed to get you to slide into my DMs and ask me if Taylor Swift is a lizard person, which I really did not appreciate. Enemy patterning is based in duality. If you feel that you are against someone, you are stuck in the enemy patterning, it's time to let it go. If you are in conversations with others about the government did this or this to me, and I can't believe our president or our prime minister, or I can't believe what that celebrity, yada, 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 or I can't believe that the shadow government is controlling everything and they know about the aliens and they're not giving us the aliens or the technology or the free energy. You are creating that reality. You are perpetuating enemy patterning. There is no one against you because you are all that is. You are the one. You are the one infinite creator. It is time to start acting like it. Let go of the enemy patterning. Stop complaining about your government. Stop digging into conspiracy theories. Stop putting your body inside of the vibration of fear. It is completely unnecessary. That world does not even exist. Gaia herself released that in 1989. 35 years ago. 35 years ago. Some of you guys are not even 35 years old. I'm not even 35 years old. It's gone. That world is gone. Stop perpetuating it. You are a light worker. You are a being of light. You are a galactic soul. You are called higher. You are here for a purpose. You came to do this mission. It's time to get back to work and to get your head out of the old hologram. All right, that message was also brought to you by Commander Lightbringer. All right, on to the next question. Will parallels ascend too? Ariel's answer. Free will within a karma game means that you can choose to do something that is not in accordance with the will of your spirit. Whenever this happens, a parallel reality is spun off, which follows what spirit wanted. This happens every time you make a choice which differs from the choice of spirit. As you awaken and begin to follow spirit, no new parallels are created. And those that were created from your earlier choices are being pulled back and merged. You are living in constant, daily merging of thousands of parallels on this planet. When all these parallels have merged, all you have left is the reality that reflects the path of spirit from the dawn of creation. There never was, therefore, a karma game. I'm going to say that again. Therefore, there never was a karma game. From our perspective, each now point makes up the fabric of everything that you call space and time. From our perspective, we see lines of force entering each now point across all parallels. They are like grappling hooks into the third dimension to be used to pull the dimension up into a higher dimension across time. You will begin to sense yourself across time and also at this now point in the timeline. By the time most people are at the 11th level of light body, this plane will no longer be in linear time. You will exist in simultaneity and see the joke about past lives. All your lives resonate with each other across time and space. When any one of your personalities chooses light, it affects every other across all time and parallels. This in turn affects everyone that all these personalities come into contact with. So just one person choosing to follow spirit affects the entire history of planet Earth. There are 7 to 8 million lightworkers in this parallel. Just think what we can all do. Anything. As long as you follow spirit, there is nothing you cannot do. That concludes her answer to that question. I do want to clarify that when Ariel says follow spirit, they are not talking about religion. They are not talking about the duality of right and wrong. They are talking about what you might experience as intuition, what you might experience as desire, and as that unfolds through you, it becomes highest truth. So my highest truth, my fullest expression, what my intuition guides me to do, what my higher levels guide me to do, may be, in the eyes of others, completely wrong. And yet because I am following spirit, for me it is completely right. For me it is completely aligned. So it's a very important distinction. And again, she makes the point that I just made, that there is going to be essentially no karma game. It will only be written in the Akashic records. The karma game is very much like being an actor in a movie and then going home and telling everyone that everything that happened in the movie was real. That it's your real life. That you really are a cop who chases bad guys through the streets of LA, or a superhero with supernatural powers. The people in your life would be like, you're delusional. That was a movie that you were in. It was pretend. It was play acting. It's not real. It's for entertainment purposes only. And that really is how you can start to see the karma game. For entertainment purposes only. The other thing that they say right at the beginning is that when you are making a choice that's not aligned with spirit, it spins off an alternate timeline. But as you are ascending, even now, all of those alternate timelines are converging into your infinite now experience, especially the more that you upgrade your light body through the different levels. That is something that I have experienced quite a bit throughout my awakening, and as I have moved through different levels to the ones that feel the most aligned for me. The most obvious one in my experience is that 10 years ago, I was supposed to get married, and I was marrying kind of my high school, college boyfriend, and I remember hearing this voice in the back of my head every day for months leading up to our wedding. It just said, no, 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 no. And finally it got really, really loud. And it said, if you marry this person, you divorce them in 10 years. And I finally called it off. And I truly know that in that moment, I avoided creating an alternate timeline and having to live for 10 years on a timeline that would have brought pain and suffering to both of us that was just completely unnecessary. And then last year, when it was about 9.5 years we would have been married, I felt the timeline start to converge back to my infinite now moment. And I had this very vivid dream of what it would have been like to be married to him and how we would have separated and all of the pain and the trauma and all of those experiences that I would have inflicted onto my own self, through not listening to spirit and through going onto that timeline. But at the moment that I would have gotten a divorce and separated from him, I felt that timeline converge into my infinite now experience. It's almost like I got this piece of my own energy back. So that's something that you might be experiencing in your own life. I'm actually even now on an alternate timeline. 3 years ago, when I decided to come back to the West Coast, I couldn't decide if I wanted to live in California or Washington. All of my family lives in Washington, or lived there at that time. And I decided to stay here, and my spirit guides were very clear. They're like, you're entering an alternate timeline. It's not going to be better or worse. It's just going to be different. You're going to deal with a lot of family stuff because you're choosing the timeline that brings you closer to family. And this summer, I'm actually closing out that timeline. So there's an alternate timeline where I moved back to California, and most of the lessons and things that I would have gone through would have been about friends and about work, because I would have gone back to working a regular job. I would have had to make friends and roommates and in a city that I hadn't lived in before and didn't know anyone in. And I truly don't believe that either one would have been easier or better. I think my guides were completely right when they told me it's not going to be easier or better. It's going to be the same difficulty level. You're going to deal with some shit as we do. But I do feel that anytime you're in close proximity with family, your spiritual awareness accelerates. It has to, because those are your deepest, closest karmic connections. And as you are activating your light body, you're literally breaking connection. And so I do feel that in this timeline, I accelerated my spiritual awareness. All right, on to the next question, which is, how does the planetary process differ from ours? Ariel's answer is, the planet was activated to 3rd level light body on April 16th, 1989. She went into 7th level in January 1993, entering 8th level on May 30th, 1994, and entered 9th on October 15th, 1994. You can see that the entire divine plan is speeding up dramatically. Earth is dumping whole reality pictures. Have you ever noticed all the recent retrospective programs on TV and in the newspapers? Let's dig through the Second World War. These historical perspectives have to do with the planet releasing and clearing pictures of reality from the consensus, She is dropping whole packages of experience that have been drummed into her throughout the course of the karma game. The other thing you are going to feel is a sense of incredible impendingness on the planet. There is a constant sense that something is about to happen. Depending on where your orientation is, this can be very stressful or it can seem comforting. The planet herself feels like she is going into the classic spiritual manic-depressive swing. Oh, I'm turning into a star, and oh, we're going to blow up. The planet is requiring that people absolutely drop their enemy patterning. There it is again. So all of a sudden, you have a wave of anti-Semitism in Europe. It won't last because there's no enemy patterning to sustain it. It's an expression more than an action. You'll become aware of how international events have a different feel because they are more of an expression than an action. Creating a war and sustaining it are actions, whereas expressing hatred is not. Once the hatred is expressed, it usually dies out because there's no underlying etheric blueprint to fuel it. All enemy patterning is being released from the planetary structure and out of everyone. Every us and them pattern in everyone's field is up for release. All kinds of new ideas are coming into the mass consciousness. There are light workers everywhere. How many of you watched Alien Nation? It did a lot of prep work. A lot of things are coming into the mass consciousness to allow new ways of thinking, living, and relating. We like the Apple computer slogan, "Your parents gave you the world, give your children the universe." There's all the work that Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine have done to teach people about the nature of multiple realities and the nature of time and space as it relates to consciousness. This has been very valuable. They have covered the delicate diplomacy necessary to invite a planet into the galactic community in first contact. In Transfiguration, a being turns into a light body on the helm of the Starship Enterprise. You are going to notice a lot of encodement showing up in music. The rave scene is very powerful. It allows a meeting of people to link consciousness and raise energy for the planet. Celebration moves through their bodies. At the same time, there are messages of hate in other types of music. The polarization continues. The overall feeling on this planet right now is, what the hell's going on? So we ask you to be kind, because as the old pictures drop out, it's scary. The planet herself has a lot of fear coming up. We ask that you ground up rather than down into the planet. The planet is in the middle of a mutation, and you grounding into her upsets her. She doesn't need to have to stabilize you right now. She's hard-pressed to stabilize herself. In fact, what you can do is to help stabilize her by grounding up into the vastness of your spirit and then acting as a pole for that energy. This allows the planet to be supported from her own vastness. That concludes Ariel's answer to that question. First of all, that's something that I did not know. And I will say that I think that there have been some changes because my own spirit team told me that at this point with the planet, since she has her crystalline grid intact as of 2021, grounding into the planet is actually something that you would be encouraged to do. So I don't think you have to worry too much about that in this day and age. I do want to address, though, how they talk about the different movies and TV shows that are essentially a reflection of the mass consciousness and how so many light workers are working in TV and film and music and media and podcasts and now social media, which did not exist when this book was channeled. So many light workers are out there. They're everywhere. And so through their work in media, So much has been prepared for the planetary consciousness. So much has been revealed and let go of and shown to us. I mean, something like the movie The Matrix. It resonated with millions of people all over the world, and it set the stage for humans to be like, you know what, we probably are living inside of a hologram. We probably are living inside of a matrix reality. And just in the last few years, quantum physics has confirmed that to the mass public consciousness. The government knew about this decades and decades ago through their contact with extraterrestrials. And I think if you dig through some of the CIA documents that were released, you'll find that I think like back in the 1940s or 50s, they were writing about how we live inside of a hologram. So there's been a lot of prep work that is done through media, and I really encourage you to, again, let go of the enemy patterning, let go of focusing on negative media, and start calling to your higher self and say, I want to see media that is helpful to me, that is helpful to my journey, and that is positive. And if you set that intention whenever you grab your phone, turn on your computer, turn on your TV, you're going to have a very, very different experience. I do also love that they pointed out the rave scene. I've been to a few raves. It was really, really a fun experience. And this was many years ago, but just in the last year, I was listening to this video online of this girl who had gone to a Taylor Swift concert. And I think I've mentioned on here that Taylor Swift is basically the Pleiadians' most successful agent on the ground. I mean, the Pleiadians are Pleiadianing. Only the Pleiadians would come up with the idea to give out friendship bracelets as a way to help the planet through ascension. So, and I love them. I love that for them. But she's their most successful agent on the ground. And she essentially, people, 70, 80, 90,000 people go to her concerts in the last year and a half. And in this video, this girl had left her concert and said, I feel like the anxiety and the depression that I went into the concert with left my body. I feel like it was just completely cleared out of my body. I don't feel anxious. I don't feel depressed. I don't feel any of the negative emotions that I was carrying for so many years. And that is just classic energy work at its finest. A group of people experiencing joy, happiness, love, gratitude, appreciation, dancing, singing, all of that energy has the ability to literally clear the negative frequencies out of your body. It's so, so incredibly powerful. And I encourage you to find artists and find music and find media that makes you feel the same way. All right, on to the next question. What is a descension? Ariel's answer is, descension occurs when a higher aspect of your spirit comes to reside in your bodies. Now, usually, you've been channeling this higher aspect first, tapping into a larger part of your vastness. Descensions happen all along this process of mutation. It can be as gentle as a sweet, revelatory experience, just being a bliss ninny for a few days, or it can be totally disorienting. It may make you question who you are, why you're here, and what you're doing. A big thing that can happen in a major descension is that your very identity can get blown out the window. The more rigid your ideas about who you are, the more difficult a descension can be. If your systems are more open, it's just, well, who am I today? And the reality for today is, the easier a descension is, the less jarring it is. You have all experienced at least one because it's a natural part of the process. You generally have a descension as you go into levels 3, 6, and 9. And they vary. Some people think that they are walk-ins, but they're not. A descension can be so dramatic that it looks like a walk-in. We're seeing this happen a lot more because people are having more intense descensions. The next question for Ariel is, are we affecting the planet's mutation? Ariel's answer, of course. Now remember that the universe recreates itself according to your picture of reality. If your picture of reality is that the planet is polluted and being destroyed, then guess what happens? You will have a polluted and destroyed planet. If your picture is that it's a beautiful, self-cleansing planet that sustains its occupants in a most exquisite manner, that's what you'll get. So we ask that you focus on what is beautiful and positive. Running fear about the ozone layer will not help. It'll only make the hole bigger. The hole is designed to be there anyway, to allow divine forces and rays more access into here. You can do all kinds of things to help the planet. You can plant trees, you can clean up garbage without running fear and guilt. Fear can render you immobile. Transform these feelings into a sense of serving the planet. Learn to be a divine gardener. Sow a few seeds of love. Tend the new growths of truth. And reap the manifest fruits of divine will. The next question is, was there some angelic event that coincided with the full manifestation of Grace's energy? Ariel's answer, there have been lots of events. Basically, Grace's energy came around the planet as part of the planetary grid work in September 1989. Gateways will open up every month from here on in, and you'll get used to it. These are ways for you to access different energies, different technologies, different information, and different aspects of your own spirit. For each one of you and the planet herself, all the hookups are being made to the you that's already in light body. If you don't resist a gateway and let the energy flow through you, it's quite wonderful. If you resist changes, the energy jams in your field. We have noticed here that humans have a real proclivity for living in the future, and they seem to have a liking for event orientation. One of the problems we've noticed in quite a few groups on the planet is this constant looking forward to the future opening of some gate or another. We would say gates are opening all the time, and it's much more powerful to be now and in the present with your spirit. Those who have been very focused in opening this or that gate at some future point have often missed all of the miracles in the now experience. The next question, how does the light body process affect animals? Ariel's answer, a lot of species are choosing to leave the planet right now because the Devic consciousness does not wish to retain its particular body type in light body. It wants something different. Now, it's all right to love and care for other species, but remember that all consciousness knows what's going on. For most species, their bodies are not experiencing mutational symptoms. They are mutating naturally. They don't need to unify their fields like you do because they never split them up. The only species having any trouble is the domestic dog. Cats are fine. Their function is actually to help this process. They are excellent channels, and the entire feline hive soul has agreed to help humans ascend. So they are very good to have around. Let them sleep with you if they want to. Dogs and cats have polarized into holding the poles of the old and new worlds respectively. Dogs are absorbing a lot of the energy being released, and cats are bringing in new energies. Dogs seem to be having increased parasite problems, so they need more attention than before. You can do the invocation to water over their food and water bowls. And that invocation is inside of this book. The next question for Ariel is, the axiotonal lines are a natural property of a balanced energy field. By what dynamic do these lines assist in manifestation? Ariel's answer, it is spirit that manifests them. You have a hookup into the higher grid systems. Through the spin points, the axiotonal lines in your body hook up into the crystalline grid systems that exist through every dimension. So when spirit wants to manifest instantaneously, those lines light up interdimensionally. In the templates of the 8th chakra, the lines have to line up in exact formation with the crystalline grid. The axiotonal lines hook up through the 8th chakra and go off into different star system grids in both this universe and other source system universes. Spirit activates those lines to manifest more of its own vastness through the body, which in turn activates more lines, which allows more spirit to enter, and so on and so forth. Now, when you get this grid system set up, there's an activation at the 11th chakra, the gateway to the I Am presence. When the templates are aligned and hooked up to the grids, then you have the manifestation of all God-level abilities. But to do this, you must go through the Christ Oversoul. Otherwise, you burn your body up. As you pass through the 8th level of light body, you have opened to the languages of light and are beginning to decode them. When you don't understand something, simply open to your spirit and allow tones to come through your body. This will decode the knowledge held deep within your field. So just let the tones come through. The sound is coming from the upper dimensions, and your body is being used as an instrument. You don't have to do it, spirit does the work. That concludes Ariel's answers to those questions. I do just want to point out in that particular answer, she said that in order to go through the gateway to the I Am presence, you must go through the Christ Oversoul. Otherwise, you burn your body up. She's not joking. You'll literally spontaneous combust if you try to go any other way, which is why so many of us are going to be having Christ self experiences. So you're probably not going to burn up your own body from seeking and yet somehow not finding the Christ self before your I Am presence. For all of us, there is some level of your Christ self that is already online and is already operating through you. And that occurred for the entire planet in 2020. So just like she's talking about in 1989, they turned a bunch of dials and everything on the planet changed. In 2012, a lot of things turned off completely for the old world, the old reality. And then in 2016, 2018, 2020, and again, every year since then, new dials have been turned on. So 2020, everyone had a certain degree of the Christ self turned on for them. But the more that you open and allow your heart chakra to expand, the more vivid that experience becomes. All right, moving on to the next question. What does a high-pitched whistling in the ears mean? Ariel's answer, it's probably an upper dimensional being trying to get in touch with you. Go really quiet, say, I am open to receive, and let it come in. You may get tones or words or melodies. The Council of Ein Sof has brought in the vow break to speed up mutational clearing. It will remove all etheric crystals. So share it with your friends. And I will be reading the vow break for you guys on here. However, just a reminder, they do have 25 invocations inside of this book. I cannot possibly read all of them, and I have no idea what would happen to me physically if I did read all of them. But they have the invocation to the unified chakra. I've done that one before, and yeah, my whole body was buzzing. Invocations to light, invocations to water, to cleanse and purify your water. They have the light absorption technique, a lot of spiritual hygiene, entity removal, triple grids, all kinds of different gridding that you can do around your home. And the home clearing and protection that I offer on my website was done after I read this book and I connected with Ariel. Michael, Gabriel, and we all put that together for you guys. So you can find that on my website, and you can also do a different version of it in here if you want to go through all of the grids. All right, I want to go into some of the Ascension symptoms that they address in the book, and then I will read the vow break so that everyone has access to the vow break, and that will clear out a bunch of your 3D ties, connections, cords, etc. So first, addressing headaches. This is the second most common mutational complaint. We will break it down by type. If you have a sharp, chronic pain in head, neck, or shoulders, it is probably etheric crystals. Get them out. Contact an etheric surgeon trained in this technique. You guys obviously do not know what an etheric surgeon is, so I will just let you know that etheric surgeons work on you all the time. There are angelics, Syrians, some Pleiadians, and lots of Arcturians, so you can call on any of them if you are having a sharp chronic pain in your head or neck, or you want to get in touch with an etheric surgeon to work on you. They work on you here and there while you're in sleep, while you're in your astral body. So you can actually connect with them during the daytime. You just need to lay down and allow them to work on you. They are present a lot in my activations, and you can check those out on wellspringofficial.com. Okay, so that sharp chronic pain in your head, neck, or shoulders are probably etheric crystals. Contact an etheric surgeon. Call them in to help you. Cranial expansion. If you're getting lumps, bumps, and pressure in your skull, your brain is probably growing. Reach up with your hands and pull the cranial plates apart. This usually does the trick, but if not, find someone who does cranial sacral body work. I feel like I've seen that on social media a few times, cranial sacral body work. I've never done it personally myself, but I don't know, maybe one of you guys can let me know how that is. Pressure between the eyebrows. This one feels like someone has their finger between your eyebrows and is pushing. That's exactly what you do for it. Take your finger and press there for a few moments. Usually it eases right up. This is the pineal growing. This technique also works for pressure at the upper back of the skull, which is pituitary growth, and pressure on the top of the skull, center back, which is the fourth eye. Severe headache at the base of the skull. This is what we call an under construction headache. Most people are conditioned to contract their body and energy bodies when they feel severe pain. In this case, if you do that, it will increase the pain dramatically. Take your hands and place them over your ears. Now imagine that as you move your hands away from your body, you are also pushing your energy bodies out and away from your head. It sounds silly, but it often works. If you have severe mutational headaches that nothing has helped, step 1, inform the version of yourself in the 5th or 6th dimension who is directing this work that what is being done hurts. This version of yourself in light body cannot feel your physical pain, so tell them to back it off. Step 2, say, please release endorphins. These are natural brain opiates. Usually you will feel an immediate release and easing of the pain. If you have flu-like symptoms, this is the most common complaint because as you're dropping density, if you don't or can't transmute it, it's got to come out somehow. And so it's going to come out through you getting sick and having some flu-like symptoms. If you experience nausea and vomiting, often people who have a lot of stored fear in their bodies will get this. Often there is a lot of mucus in your body as you are releasing fear. You can use an invocation to water over your food and drink. If this doesn't help, let yourself vomit. You should feel better quickly. Another thing that may cause nausea is if your energy bodies are spinning too fast. It's like motion sickness. If you put your hands out and tell your fields to slow down, they'll slow down. Deliberately slow down your fields. If you are clearing things from the human genetic consciousness in your body, you may have a lot of nausea. You find yourself vomiting energy. This is pretty common. There is also a vent in the sternum that you may get a lot of pressure in. If you think of it as the aperture of a camera and open it up and kind of spray energy out of your body, it seems to really help. It's the same with the headaches. There is also another one of these vent points in the back of the neck in the middle. If you get a lot of pressure buildup in the head, you can sort of open that up like a camera aperture. It triggers like a fire hydrant, and it will often release a lot of pressure in the neck and shoulders. So you can open those through a very simple command. You can command the sternum vent to open and release energy, command the neck vent to open and release energy. You are commanding the body at all times. You command chakras to open and they are listening to you. Some of you have blocked chakras because you have not been commanding them to open and they are literally waiting on you. You are the master and commander. All right, next is muscle aches and joint pains. People with this one usually have lots of stored resistance. This is also very common after a walk-in or a strong descension. It can be a rejection reaction at the cellular level. Sometimes it looks like rheumatoid arthritis. Take omega-3 fish oil capsules. It seems to lubricate the body. Also imagine that you are lying in an ocean of light with your head towards the shore. As the waves wash over you, they bring light into your body. As the waves ebb, they pull out the resistance. Fevers and sweats. Many folks get this one without the rest of the flu symptoms. Sometimes the fever is very high. Your skin may get quite red. Often, a person's energy bodies are vibrating out of phase with the physical body. So you have two ways to approach this. Number one is to lower the vibrations of your field by slowing the spin or imagining them growing heavier. Number two is to deliberately try to increase the vibration of your body by trying to make the fever higher. Either way, you should feel a click as they go back into phase and the fever should drop immediately. Most people have found making yourself hotter helps. It is easier to do than making yourself cooler. So obviously use discernment with that. And again, it's not medical advice. It is angelic guidance. You'll know if some of these options are right for you. And honestly, I haven't heard from you guys and even from myself in about 1.5 years of any of us having fevers and sweats. But I do remember like 2021 and 2022, I would just have random fevers. I would have random cold sweats. I would get ill randomly. And all of it was just that old 3D energy trying to leave my body. Okay, moving on to tiredness. There are many causes for this. You may be in reevaluation or working very hard while asleep. In this case, honor the energy drop and rest. Also, if it continues, ask your spirit for a night off. Notice if your body is doing a lot of releasing. You may need to do a physical detox to help your body release density. I think quite a few of you guys have mentioned to me that you do different cleanses or fasting. For me personally, choosing to not eat meat anymore was a way for me to drop density out of my body right now. That has really, really worked. And so you can kind of play around with your food and what you are intaking, and of course being safe and being healthy, but it is a way to release density out of your field and body, which is really, really important. Other physical symptoms can be vibrating while meditating or upon awakening. This is a very natural part of the light body process, but is often quite alarming when it starts. It simply means that your vibration is rising, so relax and enjoy it. Pain in the exact center of the sternum. This is usually the heart chakra opening to a new level. Breathe and call the silver ray of grace into the heart. Then deliberately open your heart chakra. Keep breathing and opening it until the pain subsides. The heart chakra is the multidimensional gateway. It may be like a rusty door and may need some lubrication to open. Pain in the lower back and hips. If you are in 8th or 9th level light body, or you are a walk-in, the pain may be caused by 7th dimensional divinity thresholds maxing out. You can see your etheric surgeon for that. So I know what my next visit to the etheric Arcturian surgeon is going to be. By the way, I do have on my website as well the Arcturian Healing Chamber, and that is an experience that you can purchase and you can use it as many times as you want to. And you basically, for an hour straight, you go to the Arcturian Healing Chamber on Arcturus in your etheric body, and they do all kinds of work on you. They are just phenomenal. Arms and hands tingling or falling asleep. This sometimes happens for up to 4 months. Often, this is the laying in of light body structures for etheric healing or surgical abilities. Usually, this only occurs in lightworkers who have this as part of their divine purpose. We have also seen a lot of these type of nervous system mutations in 8th level light body, as the nervous system is being required to handle a lot more light body impulses. If you find your hands or feet going to sleep while you are using them, it is time to do an adjustment in the brain. The pineal gland emits tonal and electromagnetic frequencies that help regulate the electrical impulses of the autonomic nervous system, as well as the pulse of the spinal fluids in all sorts of different rhythms in the body. If, for some reason, the pulse coming from the pineal gland to the base of the skull into the spine is disrupted in some way, it will cause problems in the nervous system where you may even lose your grip. You may have deep leg jerks as you are trying to go off to sleep. It feels almost like the sheaths of the nerves are trying to be pushed backwards. This can be very uncomfortable. If you put your finger in between your eyebrows, you're pressing on what's called the ajna center, which is the center that connects to your pineal gland in your brain. Take your other hand and put your finger at the very base of your skull in the middle. Focus your attention inwards to the center of your brain. What you're going to notice if you are having this nervous system problem is a band of light going from the center of the brain to the brain stem. That looks like lightning or like electricity. Start to breathe into it and slow that down until it looks like a laser, bluish white in color and about the thickness of a pencil. Once you have got that smoothed out, you begin to pulse the light. Your spirit will adjust the pulses to the rhythm that you need, and you will feel your entire body and nervous system relax. Keep this up until you feel fully relaxed. Usually it takes about a minute or so. Changes in food habits. You may find you crave some very strange food combinations. Your physical body may need various nutrients in different proportions than ever before. Remember, it's changing at a cellular level, so throw away your rulebook on diet. Another common experience is feeling hungry or unsatisfied no matter what you eat or in what quantity. Your body is beginning to need light as a nutrient. First, you want to say an invocation to water over everything that you eat and drink. Secondly, do the light absorption technique, which we discussed with the hands. Sensory and perceptual changes. As you progress in your light body, you go through many changes in how you experience the world. Your senses become more acute and open into the psychic gifts that lie behind them. Also, your multidimensional perception opens up. Here are some common symptoms. Excessive sensory input. Sometimes one or all of your physical senses suddenly amplify. If this is disturbing, focus on one sense and extend it, gently shutting down all the others. This usually brings the senses back into balance. Ungrounded or spacey. Ground multidimensionally. Also, it's helpful if you focus your attention fully on your feet. Try to feel the texture of what your feet are resting on. This brings you more into your body. Low-level anxiety, dizziness, or clumsiness. The brain is opening in its perceptions across multi-parallels. The body is beginning to sense that perhaps it could exist in more than one reality at a time. If you find that focusing on your feet isn't working, run a grounding cord from your Omega chakra, 8 inches below your spine, up the spine and into the upper chakras, grounding into your vastness and into spirit. Run 12 lines of light downward from the point of the Omega chakra, opening around your feet like a cone. You're not grounding into the earth, you're stabilizing yourself across the parallel realities of the planetary hologram. To your physical body, opening perception across parallels is like being in a reality earthquake. Put yourself in a doorway and hold on to the door jambs. Your body's instinctive response will usually calm right down. This usually seems to help, even in the worst cases. Objects appear to move, melt, or shimmer. This is a common perception as you move into multidimensional sight. You may be beginning to sense the atomic motion within everything. Parallel realities, energy flows in the room, or the beginning of far-seeing clairvoyance. If this is unsettling to you, remember that your physical body exists now, in this parallel of third-dimensional reality, and you can use it to recenter your consciousness. Simply extend any physical sense except your sight, and your body will bring you fully back into your usual reality. So that's like focusing on touch, or taste, or smell. Also, focusing on your feet greatly helps. Hazy vision. If you open your eyes after a deep meditation, sometimes the room appears hazy. We have seen people virtually blinded. This means that you are between physical sight and clairvoyant or multidimensional sight. Your vision is neither here nor there. To adjust it, try yawning. Yawning is one way that people shift their bodies and consciousness through different energy frequencies. You can consciously use yawning to shift levels of perceptivity. Close your eyes and yawn with the intent to make your vision third-dimensional and bring it back here. Or close your eyes and yawn with the intent to shift your sight into other psychic or dimensional levels. Your optic nerve is being required to handle a lot of impulses that it has never had before. Blurry vision is very common, especially in 8th level light body. If you find that you can't find any comfortable distance where your eyes will focus, we suggest that you not go out and get eyeglasses. Generally, within a week's time, you won't be able to see again. Your physical sight is very linked to the perceptions of the mental body. As new perceptions are coming in through your brain and through the spiritual body, it's very natural that some of the physical sight turns off as the mental body becomes less predominant. It will come back. It may take a few months, but it usually will come back. So they're not talking about those of us who have been mostly blurry vision for our whole lives. They're talking about if you go into a meditation and you come out with blurry vision, like just give it some time and it will kind of go away. As far as all of these sensory and perception changes, I have experienced all of these. The excessive sensory input, that one sometimes still gets to me, and I know that I've talked to a lot of you guys. Sometimes we think that it is ADHD. I think ADHD is just another way of saying starseed. You're a multidimensional being of light. Of course, you are processing way more information than what we used to process years ago. And you are not going to be the same as other people on this planet. You're going to be extremely high functioning. You're going to have a lot of strange interests. And you quite literally have the ability to think about multiple different things all at once. In fact, just today I was telling my mom, I was like, I don't think I have the ability anymore to just think about one thing at a time. I always am thinking about like 5 things at once. And again, that's just part of your multidimensional self, and you can use all of these different grounding techniques that they described to kind of slow the process down. I think for those of us who can sometimes have racing thoughts or feel like you can't slow down your thought process or feel like you are scrolling a lot on social media and you're just taking in tons and tons of information, so you start to feel a little bit dizzy. What they're describing is that you're literally the spin of your double tetrahedrons that make up your etheric body are spinning too fast because you're processing so much information through your bodies. And it's making the physical body, which is just one of your bodies, it's making it feel a little bit sick or overwhelmed. And you'll want to use these grounding or meditation techniques to slow down the spin. You don't need to be spinning that fast all the time. All right, the last few are audio dyslexia. Very common in 8th level light body. When you listen to someone speak and you can hear the words, but your brain can't seem to make sense of them, it is called audio dyslexia. Your brain functioning is becoming non-linear. The translation faculty from non-linear thought to linear language may not be online yet. There are levels of light body where it briefly seems like some people are talking in a foreign language, but you know that they are not. This can be scary because the mental body may send out panic signals and fears about going crazy. You are becoming very sensitive to people's energy. On this planet, what most people say verbally is totally at odds with what they say energetically. Most people don't know that they are lying or not being genuine. You are becoming so sensitive to someone's energy that you can no longer decode their verbal lies. The audio dyslexia is a brief stage while building universal mind translation facility and the ability to sense truth in yourself or others. So take a breath, laugh, and wait for further instructions. Hearing beeps, tones, music, or electronic Morse code, it may be tinnitus or it may be a higher light transmission. We suggest that you relax and simply let the signal come through. Don't worry about understanding it. The translation facility comes over time. Memory loss. This is a natural part of light body. As you begin to live more and more in the now, you lose the ability to reference the past. This could be an inability to recall karmic patterning and relationships, or simply to remember what you had for breakfast. There are many people living with this secret fear that maybe they're in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's disease. A very few may actually have the disease, but the vast majority are simply living more in the now. This break with referencing to the past can be very freeing. Clutching the past fosters the fear of change. You realize how much of your energy is tied up with preserving the past, reminiscing, chewing over what might have been, or holding on to the way it's always been. Some people are also finding it very hard to project into the future. This too may be unsettling because you may miss appointments and such. The old world couldn't function without dwelling on the past, projecting into the future, and living by a clock, if not by a stopwatch. In the new world that is emerging, people will live by their spirit, delighting in the now. As you become fully now, you literally become in the world, not of the world. You live in a separate world from other beings. So I want to briefly talk about the audio dyslexia this is one that I've been dealing with my entire life. And it's not so much that I do not understand what they're saying. It's that I have always paid more attention to what their energy is saying to me. And then I start addressing their energy and what that is saying, because it's usually more truthful than the words that have come out of their mouth. And this did not make me very popular with a lot of people throughout my life. I would always know if someone was cheating on someone else. I would always know if someone was lying about something. I would know if someone was going to turn out to be a difficult, I don't want to say a bad person, but someone who invokes a lot of pain on other people. So as a child, I had no reference for any of these psychic abilities, or the ability to read energy and the ability to see into the future and to sense things that were going to come to pass. And it did not make me very popular, but I would say that I saved myself and a few others some heartache there. So if that's happened to you, or if you feel that happening to you, it has so much to do with the psychic senses coming online. You're reading energy more than you are communicating through language. And that's just a natural part of this process. The one that I'm dealing the most with right now, and ever since my Christ self experience, is the memory loss. I just cannot access the past the same way that I used to. And, earlier on the episode, I was talking about how in the beginning years of my awakening, I was taught to go back into the past and relive all of these childhood traumas and try to dig through every little thing that had ever happened to me. Ever since my Christ self experience and a huge portion of my karmic experience just getting blipped out of existence, I find that I cannot go back there. I not only do I not have the desire to, but when people ask me about past things that have happened, I'm like, I honestly can't remember. It's like I have this wall up inside of my brain, and it's like spirit is like, we're not going back there. We don't want to reminisce about that. We don't want to tell that story. We're not going back there. That is like a totally alternate reality. And I also find that sometimes it gets me with the day-to-day things where I will not know like what I've been doing for the past few hours. And I will just be like, where am I? Like what time is it? Because I'm so checked out of the 3D reality that I'm not operating via time. And so I will, obviously my spirit helps me out. And if I have like a client or something that I actually need to do at a certain 3D time, they will always inform me. But if I don't, there's just hours of my day that I'm like, what was I doing? Like, did I leave and like go into another dimension, or like what reality was I projecting into? And so for me, I've had to let go of all 3D constructs around work, 3D constructs around productivity, around time management. It's all fucking bullshit anyway. Honestly, that's why you're so resentful of those constructs anyway, because it's all bullshit. And it's like your spirit already knows that it's bullshit. So there's this part of you that's like, I don't even want to participate in that anymore, but I also don't know how to fully get myself out of it. And that's where you can connect with your higher levels and say, I would like to be done with the 3D workforce. I would like to be done with the 9-to-5 construct. I would like to be done with the productivity gambit. It is fucking bullshit. You don't create anything in the 3D world. You never have. You never will. You are a magnet, and that is the only way that you can and ever will operate. You have attracted or repelled everything that you have experienced or not experienced in your life. You've never created anything here. It's complete illusion. I know all of those. This is why people get to the end of their life and they're like, it was all meaningless. Because it literally is fucking meaningless. Like they're having their come to Jesus moment where they literally realize that it was all meaningless to begin with. All of the certificates, all of the awards. God, I used to have all these photos of me with all of my awards from work. And I just remember time and time again, I would get a new promotion. I would get another award. I would be so fucking perfect. And it would still feel empty. And it's because it doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't mean anything. It's fucking bullshit. Do what your spirit wants to do. If it wants to frolic in a field all day, go frolic in the field. Trust me, your corporation, your company, your business is not going to burn down because you spent a few hours frolicking in a fucking field, having the time of your life and actually doing what you wanted to do when you came to this planet in the first place. Anyways, you can always tell that I'm not reading the angel's words when I start dropping the F-bomb and calling everything bullshit. Oh man, I love it. I honestly am at a point where I really do love being human because of all the little indulgences that we get. Like, my higher self isn't out there dropping the F-bomb. My higher self isn't out there calling bullshit. But I am, and I'm here, and I get to do that. Yeah, fucking love it. All right, let's get on to, this is the perfect thing to, we're almost at the end here. This is the perfect last couple of things to end on. Spiritual significance, spiritual ambition, spiritual manic depression. Just about everyone goes through these at some time in their light body process, usually at the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels. They manifest from trying to deny or run away from guilt, shame, survival patterns, and feelings of separation held in the physical body. Spiritual significance and spiritual ambition are ego defenses, and unfortunately, the person rarely knows or admits that they're running them. Blowing light bulbs and fuzzing electronics. At some point in the light body process, you may find that you are buying an awful lot of light bulbs. You'll notice that they tend to burn out or flicker when you are next to them. Your television may ghost or snow when you walk by or are merely in the room with it. Your speakers may static when you are near them. These little annoyances are caused by changes in your electromagnetic body and your auric field. There are several times in the light body process when the electromagnetic body stretches. Sorry, there's nothing you can do for this one that we know about, except try to align your energy with your objects. With the electronic object off, try to merge your energy fields with the object. It is very normal to have some problems with electromagnetic frequencies. You may be much more sensitive to them than you have been before. You may feel radar. You may feel the electromagnetic waves. You may feel things coming off your television. So you can try the technique of merging your energy with it. So looping back to spiritual significance, spiritual ambition, spiritual manic depression, I had this so bad for the first 2.5 years. It was so much spiritual significance and spiritual ambition. The manic depression came later. I would say that was more this year of the manic depression of like, everything is meaningless and I don't know if this is great or the worst thing that ever happened. But the spiritual significance and spiritual ambition is so sneaky because, especially for a light worker and a light leader, you get these grand delusions of how you're going to heal and save the entire world. I used to have this like dream fantasy that I was going to open this huge healing center and I was going to help everyone get healed. And I was going to have this program for all of those who are underprivileged and I was going to help them get healed. And we were going to have all of these energy services. And there was just all these people that I was going to help heal, help heal, help heal, help heal. Well, the revelation is you're not broken to begin with. You're not broken to begin with. And what I have really, really learned, especially under Ariel's mentorship, is your entire life is about you. It's about you. Your whole life, it's about you. It's not about you healing or saving anyone else. Sure, the things that I do help other people, and that's great. but I no longer get the high off of it that I used to. And I used to be so obsessed with like, did this person get helped or healed or become perfect or manifest what they want when they took my class or my course or became one of my clients? Did they get everything, every message that they wanted from their spirit guide when they had a session with me? Are they so happy afterwards? Are they so satisfied? And if I felt like even just a fraction that they weren't, I would make it mean something about me and my abilities. Honest to God, of which we are, truth, honest to God truth is you're going to hear some stuff on your spiritual journey that you are not going to like. For the healers and the teachers and the coaches out there, sometimes you're there to literally be what other people do not want. You are there to literally show them that what you're offering is not right for them. And in that way, it does help them. But your ego sure takes a hit when that is the truth. And my ego loves the idea of all the people that I'm going to help, because the ego is obsessed with what other people think. It is obsessed with the impression that it can make on other people. It is obsessed with the admiration. It is obsessed with the kind words. It is obsessed with all of the affirmation. You did good. You're such a good girl. You are such a great spiritual teacher. But Spirit sees everyone as their own master. Spirit sees everyone as an ascended master. And that has been one of the biggest changes for me just in the last year. I used to drive down the road or through my town and I would see homeless people and I would feel so bad for them. I would feel so sorry for them. All this sympathy and pity would come up. Now when I drive by, I look at them and I say, brother, you are a master. Brother, sister, remember who you are. You are a master. You are a master of light. And just like what Ariel said at the beginning, everyone here is a master and they know what they're doing. And they are fine. They are fine. It's only your spiritual ego that wants to save and rescue and fix them. As far as spiritual manic depression, I feel like you just come to a point, especially when you really get that none of it matters, and you have this choice. You have this choice of projecting a negative meaning onto it or allowing that truth to free you. And the faster you let it free you, the less it feels like depression. And the more it just feels like your spirit is going manic with all of the freedom that it now has and with all of the light that is now projecting through your body and how much bigger your presence becomes in your own field and how much you feel spirit leading you and how much you feel aligned with the truth of who you are. And it can feel a little manic. Sometimes I feel manic in my own mind because obviously I'm thinking about all of these things all at once, all the time. And there's this part of me that just delights, just so fucking delighted to be here on this planet and to get to like do things, to get to go to, I went to the symphony last weekend and I got to watch Harry Potter and a live symphony played all the music. It was so fucking cool. And I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? On Arcturus, we don't have this. Only here on Earth do we have this. Only here on Earth do we have the whole construct of Harry Potter. And I love it. Only here on Earth can I spend my weekends watching all of the live streams of the Eras tour and just singing all the songs and enjoying and having a good time and eating. And there's just so many things here that you can only do here. And I really feel so much more freedom now that I lean into the fact that like, none of it means anything. You don't have to project meaning onto every little thing that you do. You don't have to make it mean that you're a good girl or a bad girl or the right or the wrong. You don't have to make it mean all of these things. All of that guilt that you feel over, quote, wasted time, unquote, or the scrolling or the content that you created or the relationship that you ended, you're projecting all of that meaning onto it. You're creating that dynamic. And it's so freeing when you just let all of that go. All right, the last thing I want to do is I want to read you guys the Awaken Vow Break. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to give you time for you to repeat it in your own mind. And you are essentially releasing all crystals, devices, thought forms, emotions, veils, cellular memory, pictures of reality, genetic limitation, and the death construct. You are voiding all vows or contracts that you may have made in parallel incarnations across time and space and universes, alternate realities. Essentially, you're just avoiding a ton of your 3D self and saying, I'm not playing that game anymore, and I call all of my energy back to me as the I Am presence. So if it feels like something that you want to do, you can just repeat it in your own heart, in your own mind. I now rescind any and all vows that I have taken to experience the illusion of unconsciousness. As light bearer of my genetic lineage, I break these vows for myself and all of my ancestors. I declare these vows null and void in this incarnation. And all incarnations across time and space, parallel realities, parallel universes. Alternate realities, alternate universes, all planetary systems. All source systems, all dimensions, and the void. I ask for the release of all crystals, devices, and thought forms. Emotions, matrices, veils, and cellular memory. Pictures of reality, genetic limitation, and death. Now, under the law of grace and by the decree of victory. By the decree of victory, by the decree of victory. As Spirit wills, I ask for awakening. As Spirit wills, we are awake. In the beginning, I am that I am. Breshit Eya Asher Eya. In the beginning, I am that I am. I hope that you guys found this episode illuminating and helpful. I know there is a ton of information. I would really treat it kind of like a textbook and come back for reference in the future when you are experiencing more strange ascension symptoms. And again, as always, this is not medical advice. Your 3D body still needs to go see a 3D doctor because many of your thought forms and belief constructs are still entangled with 3D realities. Therefore, 3D medicines are the only things that can help certain bodily symptoms and illnesses. As you continue your ascension, you will begin to have more and more discernment about what is the energy behind your physical symptoms and what the hell is going on with you. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope that you will share it with a friend, share any of my episodes. It's always a delight, and this podcast I don't advertise for it. It has grown completely organically. I just put it out there and you guys find it, and I know that it's changed many, many of your lives. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, this podcast is for you. It's all for you. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.